Luke Maddox found the little girl's red scarf frozen to a broken fence post. Beyond it, the snowstorm had swallowed every track. Sarah Bennett stood behind him, shaking so badly she could barely speak. "You said you wanted us gone," she whispered. "Did someone take my daughter because of this ranch?" Luke slowly drew his revolver. His face was pale beneath the falling snow. "I wanted you off my land," he said. "But I swear before God, Sarah, I would never hurt that child." Then a faint cry came from somewhere beyond the white hills, and Luke rode straight into the storm, knowing the person who had taken Emily might be waiting with a rifle. Before we begin, tell us where you are listening from. If you enjoy emotional stories from the Old West, please like the story and subscribe. And as you listen, share your thoughts. Or tell us if you have ever been forced to trust someone you once believed was your enemy. The letter reached Sarah Bennett on a cold October morning in 1881. She was sewing a torn shirt beside the window of a rented room in Missouri when the landlady called her downstairs. A lawyer stood near the front door. He wore a dark coat and held a weathered envelope. "Mrs. Bennett?" Sarah nodded. He handed her the envelope. Inside was a legal notice, a train ticket, and a small brass key. According to the letter, a man named Samuel Bennett had died in Colorado Territory. He was her father's older brother, a man Sarah had never met. Samuel had left her half of the Double M Ranch. Sarah read the words 3 times. "There must be another Sarah Bennett," she said. "There is not," the lawyer replied. "The will names you and your daughter." 7-year-old Emily looked up from the stairs. "Does this mean we have a home?" Sarah stared at the brass key in her palm. "I do not know." 2 weeks later, Sarah and Emily stepped off a train in the dusty town of Red Creek. A cold wind moved between the wooden buildings. Horses stood tied outside the saloon, and a church bell rang somewhere beyond the general store. A tall man waited beside a black gelding. He was broad-shouldered, with a worn brown coat and a face hardened by years beneath the sun. His eyes moved from Sarah to Emily, then to the suitcase at their feet. "Sarah Bennett?" he asked. "Yes, I'm Luke Maddox." Sarah offered her hand. Luke did not take it. "There has been a mistake," he said. Emily moved closer to her mother. Sarah kept her voice calm. "The lawyer said Samuel Bennett left me half the ranch. Samuel promised that ranch to me." "Did he put that promise in writing?" Luke's jaw tightened. "No." "Then perhaps we should speak inside." Luke looked toward the lawyer's office. "We already have." The lawyer explained that the will required Sarah and Luke to share ownership for 1 full year. Neither could sell without the other's agreement. If one abandoned the property, the other would receive full control. Luke laughed bitterly. "So she only has to stay long enough to take what I built." Sarah stood from her chair. "I did not ask your uncle for anything. He was not your uncle in any way that mattered. He never even knew you." The words struck harder than Sarah expected. She picked up Emily's hand. "You are right. He did not know me. But my daughter and I crossed nearly 700 miles because his will gave us a chance to stop living from one rented room to another." Luke looked at Emily. For a moment, his anger weakened. Then it returned. "You can use the old cabin near the east pasture," he said. "But do not mistake a legal paper for belonging." The cabin was small, cold, and filled with dust. One window was cracked. The stove smoked, and mice had chewed through the blankets. Still, Emily smiled when Sarah lit the lantern. "It is ours," the girl said. "Only half ours," Sarah answered. That night, Luke sat alone in the main ranch house, staring at Samuel's empty chair. Samuel had taken Luke in after his father died. He had taught him to rope cattle, mend fences, and survive hard winters. 3 days before his death, Samuel had gripped Luke's arm. "Whatever happens," the old man had whispered, "do not let anger blind you." Luke had believed Samuel was confused from fever. Now he was no longer certain. Before dawn, Sarah woke to the sound of galloping hooves. Luke pounded on the cabin door. "Get dressed." "What happened?" "The north fence was cut. They rode out beneath a gray sky. Nearly 40 cattle were missing. The wire had been sliced cleanly, and fresh hoofprints led toward the canyon." Luke dismounted and studied the ground. Sarah noticed something caught on a fence nail, a strip of dark cloth. It matched the sleeve of Luke's coat. Luke saw it in her hand. That is not mine. Sarah looked at the clean cut across his damaged sleeve. Then why is your coat torn? Luke stepped closer, anger burning in his eyes. You think I stole my own cattle to frighten you away? I think someone wants me gone. A rifle shot cracked across the pasture. The bullet struck the fence post between them. Luke pulled Sarah to the ground and drew his revolver. On the distant ridge, a rider disappeared into the trees. Luke stared after him. Then Sarah saw words carved into the fence post beneath the fresh bullet hole. Leave before the first snow. Luke's face changed, not with anger, with fear. You have seen those words before, Sarah said. Luke slowly looked at her. Samuel received the same warning 1 week before he died. Sarah reached into her coat and closed her fingers around the brass key. For the first time, she wondered whether her inheritance was not a gift. Perhaps it was a trap. By sunrise, Luke had gathered every ranch hand at the main barn. 5 men stood beneath the hayloft while cold wind pushed through the wooden boards. Luke held the strip of dark cloth in one hand. Someone cut the north fence, he said. 40 cattle are gone. Until we know who did it, nobody leaves the ranch alone. A young hand named Ben Harper shifted nervously. Could have been drifters. Drifters do not carve warnings into fence posts, Luke replied. Sarah stood near the doorway with Emily beside her. Every man looked at them as if their arrival had brought trouble. Then a rider entered the yard. Silas Crow climbed down from a polished gray horse. He was a well-dressed man in his 50s, with silver hair, clean boots, and a calm voice. I heard about the cattle, he said. Terrible business. Luke's expression hardened. News travels quickly. Silas smiled. In a town this small, bad news travels faster than fire. He turned toward Sarah and removed his hat. You must be Mrs. Bennett. I knew your uncle well. Samuel often spoke of his family. Sarah studied him. He never wrote to us. Silas's smile weakened for only a second. Samuel was a private man. Silas offered to buy the missing cattle contracts and protect the ranch from debt. He also offered Sarah cash for her half of the land. Enough money to return east and live comfortably, he said. Emily took Sarah's hand. Sarah remembered the cold rented rooms. She remembered unpaid bills and days when she had eaten nothing so Emily could have bread. The offer could free them. Luke watched her. If she sells, I lose the ranch. Silas shrugged. You may lose it anyway. Sarah looked at the clean coat, the polished horse, and the easy smile. No, she said. Silas raised an eyebrow. I came here for a home. I will not leave because someone fired a bullet near my head. For the first time, Luke looked at her with respect. That afternoon, Luke taught Sarah how to check the cattle records. She discovered that several pages had been removed from Samuel's account book. Who kept these records? She asked. Samuel did. Sometimes Silas helped him. Luke stopped. Their eyes met. Before either could speak, Emily ran into the room carrying the brass key. Mother, I found what it opens. She led them to Samuel's bedroom. Behind the bed stood an old wooden chest with a brass lock. The key turned smoothly. Inside were tax papers, cattle brands, and letters tied with faded blue ribbon. Sarah reached for them. Luke stopped her. Those belonged to Samuel. He left me the key, and he raised me. For a moment, both stood over the chest like enemies again. Then Emily said quietly, maybe he wanted both of you to open it. Luke released the letters. The first was addressed to Sarah's father. It had never been mailed. Sarah opened it with trembling hands. Samuel had written that he regretted abandoning his younger brother after a bitter family quarrel. He had spent years searching for him, only to learn too late that he had died. The final line read, If I cannot repair what I broke with you, perhaps I can still protect your child. Sarah lowered the paper. My father thought Samuel hated him. Luke stared at the floor. Samuel never spoke about a brother. The next letter was not from Samuel. It was a land agreement signed by Luke Maddox. It stated that Luke had agreed to sell the entire ranch to Silas Crow. Luke snatched it from Sarah. I never signed this. Your name is there. It is forged. Sarah wanted to believe him, but doubt returned. Luke had wanted her gone from the moment she arrived. Perhaps the fence, the missing cattle, and the warning were all meant to frighten her into selling. Then Emily pointed beneath the chest. There is something under there. Luke pulled out a broken wax seal, stamped with the letter C, Silas Crow's mark. Before they could examine it, a ranch hand shouted from outside. Smoke rose above the east pasture. The hay barn was burning. Luke and Sarah ran toward the flames. Men formed a line from the water trough, passing buckets hand to hand. In the confusion, no one noticed Emily following a small white dog toward the hills. By the time the fire was under control, the sky had turned black. Snow began to fall. Sarah looked around the yard. "Where is Emily?" No one answered. They searched the cabin, the barn, and the ranch house. Luke found the child's footprints near the east gate. Beside them were the tracks of a grown man's boots. Sarah grabbed Luke's coat. "You said no one would leave alone." His face filled with guilt. "I will bring her back." The snow thickened as Luke saddled his horse. Sarah climbed onto another. "You are not going without me." Luke looked toward the dark hills. "If those tracks belong to the person who forged that paper, this is no longer about frightening you. Then what is it about?" Luke drew his revolver. "Making sure neither of us lives long enough to challenge the will." They rode into the storm together. Less than an hour later, Luke found Emily's red scarf frozen to a broken fence post. Beyond it, every track had vanished beneath the snow. Then, from somewhere in the darkness, a child screamed. The scream came again. "Mother!" Sarah kicked her horse forward, but Luke caught the reins. "Wait, that may be what they want." Through the falling snow, they saw a weak lantern glowing inside an abandoned line shack. Luke dismounted and handed Sarah his second revolver. "Stay behind me. My daughter is in there, and she needs you alive." They moved through the storm until Luke reached the shack's wooden porch. The door stood slightly open. "Emily?" Sarah called. A rifle barrel appeared through the darkness. Luke shoved Sarah aside as a shot tore through his coat and struck the porch railing. He fell into the snow. Sarah raised the revolver, but a frightened voice shouted from inside. "Do not fire." Ben Harper stepped through the door. His hands shook around the rifle. Behind him, Emily sat tied to a chair. The small white dog trembled beside her. Sarah aimed at Ben's chest. "Let her go." "I never meant to hurt the child," Ben said. "Mr. Crow told me to bring her here. He said you would sign away the ranch to get her back." Luke slowly rose. Blood stained his sleeve, but the bullet had only cut his upper arm. "You burned the hay barn?" he asked. Ben nodded. "And the cattle?" "Crow's men drove them through the canyon. He paid me because my mother owes money on her farm." Ben looked toward Emily. "He said nobody would be harmed." Sarah could see shame on the young man's face. He was guilty, but he was not cruel. "Untie her," she said. "Then come back with us and tell the sheriff everything." Ben looked terrified. "Crow will kill me." Luke lowered his revolver. "If you run, he will own you forever. Tell the truth, and you may still become a better man than the one he paid you to be." After a long silence, Ben set down the rifle. He freed Emily. Sarah dropped to her knees and held her daughter so tightly the child could barely breathe. "I knew you would come," Emily whispered. Luke turned away, hiding the relief on his face. They returned to the ranch near dawn. Sheriff Amos Reed was waiting in the yard with Silas Crow. Silas wore a concerned expression. "Thank heaven," he said. "I came as soon as I heard." Ben stepped forward. "He paid me." Silas's face remained calm. "The boy is frightened and confused." Ben handed the sheriff a small book taken from the line shack. Inside were payments to several men, records of the stolen cattle, and the name of a county clerk. The sheriff studied the pages. "Silas Crow, you are under arrest." Silas finally lost his smile. "You fools do not understand what that ranch is worth. The railroad survey passes through the southern pasture. In 2 years, that land will be worth 10 times its value." He looked at Luke. "You were supposed to frighten the widow away." Then he turned to Sarah. "And you were supposed to believe Maddox was a thief." Silas had forged Luke's sale agreement. He had also paid the county clerk to replace 1 page of Samuel's will. The true will never said the ranch would belong entirely to whoever forced the other owner to leave. That false condition had been added to make Sarah and Luke distrust each other. The sheriff found the original page hidden among the clerk's records. After Silas was taken away, Sarah and Luke returned to Samuel's chest. Emily noticed that the bottom sounded hollow when she tapped it. Luke lifted the wooden panel. Beneath it lay one final letter. It was addressed to both of them. Luke read it aloud. Samuel wrote that Sarah was the last member of the family he had lost through pride. Luke was the son he had gained through kindness. He loved them both, but he feared they would spend their lives alone. Sarah needed land, but she did not know how to protect it. Luke knew the land, but he had forgotten how to share his heart. Samuel had divided the ranch because each possessed what the other lacked. His final words were simple. Do not remain together because a dead man commanded it. Remain only if, after 1 year, you have built something neither of you wishes to lose. Spring came slowly to Red Creek. The stolen cattle were recovered. Ben testified against Silas and later worked honestly to repay the damage he had caused. Sarah took charge of the ranch accounts. Luke rebuilt the east cabin, though Sarah and Emily no longer slept there. One evening, Luke found Sarah standing beside Samuel's grave. The year is nearly over, he said. You are free to sell your half. Sarah looked toward the ranch house, where Emily's laughter floated through an open window. Do you want me to leave? Luke removed his hat. No. It was the first honest answer he had given without anger hiding behind it. Sarah placed the brass key in his hand and gently closed his fingers around it. Then perhaps we should stop calling it your ranch or my ranch. Luke looked at the warm lanterns glowing across the yard. For the first time since Samuel's death, the land did not feel like something he had been left to defend. It felt like a home, and this time, he did not have to stand inside it alone.